Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the first PSJA AFT School Board Candidate Forum. I'm Zachary Holzer, the president of PSJA AFT. I'll be one of the moderators along with Sonia Castillo, the vice president of PSJA AFT. Tonight we have with us the PSJA Stronger Together Forum. Among those candidates are Jorge Sombrano for place 4, Jesse Sombrano for place 5, Jesse Vella for place 6, and Cynthia Gutierrez for place 7. Early voting is going to start on October 13th and continue to the 30th, and the election day is November 3rd. This election, we've been told, is one of the most consequential elections that there will be in the United States. This is true on a national level, on a state level, and also on a local level. This election will determine the fate and the future of PSJA ISD, so we hope that you'll find this event informative. Also remember to join us on Friday, where the other slate will be having their forum. So we're going to start with asking a question to our candidates, and we'll start with Jorge Sombrano. Why are you running for school board, and what makes you a better candidate for the position than your opponent? You're on mute, sir. Yeah. I should mention that that you have like up to 5. Pardon me, I messed up. We're going to give an opening statement first. So all of you will give an opening statement, and then we'll go to that question that I just asked. So you have up to 5 minutes to make an opening statement, Mr. Jorge Sombrano.
Could you hear me, Zach?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, thank you, Zach. Thank you, Norma, for inviting the PSJ Stronger Together campaign to participate in this forum. I think it's important for our community. I think it's important for our staff to know and to know who the candidates are, especially for this school board race. I think that this is a very important race to ensure that all of our students here in PSJ get the best quality of education. My name is Jorge Sombrano, and I am seeking my re-election as your PSJ School Board Trustee, Place 4. I have a bachelor's in business finance and currently working on my master's in business administration from the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. I anticipate on graduating next semester. I have 2 boys that attend PSJ ISD. One is 4 years old, and I have a 9-year-old. So I know firsthand the struggle that the parents are going through due to this global pandemic. But at the same time, you know, I as a father know and appreciate the hard work our educators do to ensure that all of our students get the best quality of education possible. So with that being said, I understand the needs that our students are facing, and I also understand the hardworking hours that you as educators are putting in right now. And I see that as an advantage because I'm able to take that perspective to the board to ensure that our students, that our teachers, and that all of our staff get the resources needed to make their job a little easier. After serving this great school district for 4 years, I believe that I have gained the experience needed to continue another 4 years. I've served on the board and on different committees in different capacities. Another great thing that I bring to the table is my age. I believe that with my age, I help bring a different perspective to the 7-member board. I believe that I could relate to the needs of our student population, and this is what makes me the most qualified candidate for this position. So please allow me 4 more years to continue taking PSJ to higher levels. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sombrano. And now we'll go to Jesse Sombrano. Your opening statement, sir.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to address you. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve the students and the teachers and the staff of PSJ ISD for the past 4 years. My name is Jesse Sombrano, and I'm running for re-election for place 5. And just a little bit of my background. I do have a finance degree from the University of Texas Pan American. I also have a law degree from the University of Texas School of Law and a banking degree from SMU University. I believe that my background, education, and experience is what makes me the most qualified person for this position. In terms of my experience, I've been a practicing attorney for about 16 years. I practice in the areas of personal injury law, but I also have experience in the areas of banking, finance, and general business litigation. And so these are all good qualities that I bring to the board, because a lot of the times, a lot of the decisions that we have to make at the board level have to do with those areas. And so I believe that with my experience, I help the board in making those tough decisions. In terms of running for this position, the reason I'm running is because I believe that education is the greatest equalizer in our society. I believe that through an education, you can change your life, you can change your family's future, and you can change the community around you. And that's the reason why we're running. That's the reason why this slate is running together. I have a lot of confidence in my three colleagues that are running for these positions. I believe that they have the right intentions of the students and the teachers and the staff in mind, so that we can better education in the PSJA area. You know, when I was in law school, I had the privilege of clerking for Congressman Doggett up in D.C., and I also had the privilege of clerking for Veronica Gonzalez up in the Capitol in Austin. And I knew back then that when I got back to the Valley after graduation, I knew back then that at one point I was gonna seek elected office. And in the words of President Obama, school board elections are very, very important elections. They're the most important elections at times because it actually involves our communities. It involves our local communities. It involves jobs in our local communities, and all of this is really important. Obviously, for the education of our kids. As somebody once said, without an education, it makes it difficult for our communities to prosper. And so being involved, serving at the school board level has been one of my greatest privileges. And I want to continue to do so for the next 4 years. I do have a 10-year-old that is a fifth grader at Carmen Elementary. And so day in and day out, we're always talking about, how we can improve the quality of education in our community. The last 4 years serving there gives us a better perspective for the continuity that we want to have for our district, bringing in a new superintendent, and really just looking at the areas that we needed improvement on. I believe that we are working on that. That combined with the great talent that we have here in PSJA, our educators that have been here, for a number of years, we believe that we're assembling a really good team to continue to take PSJA forward. And so once again, thank you so much for the opportunity, and looking forward to answering some questions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sombrano. Now we'll go to Mr. Jesse Vella. Oh, Mr. Vella, you're on mute, so unmute yourself.
Okay.
Mr. Vella, you're still on mute. Okay. Yeah, now we can hear you. Yeah, now we can hear you.
Thank you, Zach, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jesse Vella. I'm running for seat place 6 on the PSJA Education School Board. I have been a school board member for 8 years on seat 7, and I moved over to run in place seat number 6. A little bit about me: I'm a retired educator. Was an educator for 39 years as a professional and 3 years as a paraprofessional. So altogether, 42 years as a public school educator or a paraprofessional. My first paid job in the public school system was as a paraprofessional for some very inspirational, very motivational teachers during a summer program a long time ago. A little bit about my educational background. I have a bachelor's degree in science. I have a master's degree in education, in counseling and guidance and psychology. I have 5 state certifications, and I've labored or worked in the public school system for 39 years in some of the largest school districts here in the Valley, which included PSJA, Edinburgh, Mission, and others. Also done doctoral coursework at Baylor University. I'm ABD from Baylor at this time. So I have a lot of educational background, a lot of education, a lot of practical experience, and also my experience in education is also in the family. My wife is a retired educator, former principal, teacher and principal for 31 years in our public school district. 3 sons graduated, alum from PSJA ISD as well. Currently 3 grandchildren have graduated from PSJA also, gone off to college, and 2 of them already finished their college degrees, and another one is in college right now. 2 younger ones are in schools right now, 2 younger grandchildren. So all total, they're 5 grandchildren, but they're all going to schools and went to schools here at Far San Juan Alamo. First of all, I want to just say thank you to all the outstanding teachers that are listening, all the outstanding educators that are out there for influencing me, inspiring me to be where I am today. The reason I serve is because I always say that PSJA was very good to me and my family. And by that I mean is we had outstanding educators, outstanding motivational and inspirational individuals that helped me get to where I am, and my children to get to where they are as well. Because without the motivational, inspirational teachers that we have out there, our students would not be where they are today. And I appreciate that very, very much. I am running to continue serving the community that was very good to me, and the school district that obviously was very good to me. I am a proud graduate of PSJA, class of 1966, and I want the very best for all our students. My sole purpose is to serve. It always has been. And I have a history of service in this community. I'm from Alamo. I've lived here 48 years, and I started serving this community the day I arrived in a number of capacities. I have a history of service to this community, working with the students, the youth, in the education arena, in the church groups, in other groups, through activities. And my wife is also a partner with me, and she provided a lot of the same services beyond her career as an educator as well. So again, I thank all of you for considering us and considering me to be elected to Place 6. I feel that I have a lot of background, a lot of institutional information, a lot of knowledge in all the areas that I've worked in, which included academics, fine arts, athletics, and all of the other areas that encompass the public schools. I've worked in a variety of areas. I have a background in special education as well as federal programs, athletics, and fine arts as well. So all of those experiences make me the obvious candidate for Place 6. And I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vella. And lastly, we'll go to Ms. Gutierrez with her opening statement.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cynthia Gutierrez, and I am running for PSJA School Board Place 7. So I want to start by thanking the organizers, the AFT, for having us tonight. And let me tell you a little bit about myself. I graduated from PSJA, and I have a bachelor's in psychology from UT Pan American. I went to medical school in Mexico, and I have a degree in medicine, and I am fully licensed. Currently, ECFMG, which is the organization that oversees foreign medical graduates, has granted me the license to take the boards. At this point, I'm going to take them in December. I'm going to start taking in December. So hopefully soon I can practice medicine and have my own practice. I also have a master's in business administration from UTRGV, and I currently work at the Hidalgo County Health Department. I am an epidemiologist there, and what I do is I work with infectious illnesses. So on a daily basis, I work with over 80 illnesses that by law have to be reported. So I have a lot of experience working with the schools, the school districts, their nurses, and also hospitals, clinics, daycares, adult daycares, etc., on illnesses such as COVID. That's something that I feel that makes me a great candidate for Place 7. The fact that I have acquired great experience and knowledge on COVID. And with the current situation, doing the virtual learning for our students, it's very important. I think it would be a great asset to have once we start opening the schools to face-to-face instruction. I have been married for 29 years. I have a 25-year-old son, Oscar Gutierrez. My husband's name is Oscar Gutierrez as well. And I am very passionate about what I do at work, but I'm also very passionate about what I do in my community. I learned that from my mother, who worked for parental involvement at PSJA ISD for many years. And I work with her very closely. I work with McAllen ISD, with parents and vulnerable populations. So I know what it takes to, or what's needed to give those that have not had the opportunities or that have not been focused in school to get them to succeed. And so I ask that you give me the opportunity to serve on the school board. There is a lot that I can bring to the table, especially the representation for women. At this time, I think that we're not having the representation for our female students and staff, administrators, etc. And I would be a great voice for all women in our district. And I will also represent all of the residents of our 3 cities equally. I believe that since we are an at-large district and we vote for candidates of any of the 3 cities, I would be fair and I would represent our citizens, our residents, our children, our staff, administrators, support staff equally and fairly. So again, thank you for having me here. And I ask that you give me the support to help my teammates who have done a great job, in my opinion. And I think we can do even greater things in the future. Thank you very much and good night.
Thank you, Ms. Gutierrez. So we're going to ask the question that I asked at the beginning, and this is a question for all of you. Why are you running for school board, and what makes you a better candidate for the position than your opponent? So we'll go in reverse order. So we'll go right back to Ms. Gutierrez, and then Mr. Vella, and then Jesse, and then finally Jorge Sombrano.
Again, the reason I'm running is because I want to represent all of our residents, all of our children and staff equally. I don't think that we women are better in any way, but we are a great support, and we work together very well with men. So I am also a better candidate because of the experience that I bring, because of my education, because of my community involvement. I have made sure that everything I do is to benefit our community. So I'm a better candidate because during this pandemic, I have proven to be a leader, and I can help move our district in a safe direction towards opening the schools and bringing our children and our staff back.
Thank you, Ms. Gutierrez. So we'll go to Mr. Vella. It's going to be the same question. Why are you running for school board, and what makes you a better candidate for the position than your opponent?
Yes, thank you. I think I stated earlier that the only reason I'm serving is because I want to serve my community. I want to serve the school district, which I've served for the last 8 years. And my service goes way back to my community as a former city commissioner for 8 years, working in serving on the Economic Development Board here in my community, serving on the Parish Advisory Council in my community, serving on the Housing Authority for my community. And I have been providing that service unselfishly for the last 48 years since I arrived in this community. So the reason I serve again is very, to me, is to be as unselfish as possible and to serve the children and serve the staff and serve all of the individuals in our communities, in our great district. I'm a better candidate for a variety of reasons. One is I'm an engaged school board member, and I have a record of attendance that is almost perfect. 99% of the time I go to meetings. I've attended school board meetings, special called school board meetings, workshops, all kinds of meetings. I have been present. And when I go to meetings, I go prepared, I'm engaged, I'm focused, and I'm listening very attentively to what people have to say, particularly our staff. We need to listen to our staff, and that's what I do. In order to make good decisions, we need to be informed, and I'm informed. I try to stay as informed as possible so I can make a good decision, a sound decision that's going to be good for the district, for its students, and for its teachers. In my background, I have either been the chairman or the president of at least 10 local, regional, and state organizations as part of my involvement, which included being the president of the school board, being the vice president 2 years, and the secretary treasurer 4 years, 4 different times. So I've been in leadership roles throughout my 8 years of service to the school board, and very engaged and involved in my school district. Wherever, if I'm asked to attend functions, I usually go. I attend as many functions as I possibly can. I'm invited, whether I'm invited or not. Obviously, if there are fine arts activities, athletic activities, academic activities, every conceivable activity, I try to be there as much as I possibly can and support the students and support the staff. The other is, last few years ago, we formed, through the help of my colleagues, formed different committees within the district that included such as budget committees, subcommittees, athletics committees, fine arts committees, facilities committees. I am chair of 2 of those committees, and I have been in every single one of those meetings as chairperson of those committees whenever we had to meet. And I usually go to other meetings that are not part of the committee, but I like to listen and find out what's going on to stay current with all the information that is being discussed, to make, again, good, sound decisions, or to offer recommendations or ideas about how we can improve or make better different things in our school district, which includes academics, obviously, and fine arts and athletics and facilities and many other areas related to our school budget and our finances. I have been engaged in all of these activities. And then this past couple of years ago, through the colleagues of mine, we established 8 institutes to offer students opportunities. And I'm going to let my colleagues speak to that in a few minutes. But again, very involved with those. I'm a member of 2 of those particular committees. The original one was the law group, or the law committee, legal services committee. And then also with the sports medicine committee, I'm a member of that one, to offer ideas or recommendations or suggestions to that particular committee. But the key piece is that students are involved in all of these areas, and we offer programs, ideas, mentorships to all those students as well. I am involved, and I intend to be involved because I think that's what my constituents expect of me. That's what people expect of me, and that's what I'm going to do and continue to do it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jesse Sombrano, it's the same question. Why are you running for school board, and what makes you a better candidate for the position than your opponent?
Yes, thank you, Zach. I think I mentioned earlier that education is the greatest equalizer in our society. I think that my own story is a testament to that, and that's really the reason why I'm running. And really, without stating the obvious, right, which is education. Holding a bachelor's degree, a law degree, a degree in banking and in finance. I believe that right off the bat, those characteristics make me different from my opponent. And those characteristics give me a competitive advantage to be able to understand a $400 million budget, to be able to understand the different dynamics that have to go through in a board, and to be able to understand how to be a leader and not a follower in making decisions on the board. And so to me, that goes without saying. However, I don't think that those are the characteristics that, or the only characteristics that make me a better candidate than my opponent. When I was 19 years old, I started my first job as a bank teller. And quickly after that, in 2 years, when I was in college, I served on my first board. It was for a bank. It was IBC Bank. I'm very proud of the work that I did there. And there is where I met the first time I met an attorney that told me that he thought that it would be a good idea for me to go to law school. And so I did. I applied. I got accepted. I went to the University of Texas School of Law, and I am a person that is very determined. And I am a person that if I start something, I finish it. And that is proven based on my experience after I graduated from law school. As I mentioned earlier, I had the pleasure of working for two great legislators. And then after that, when I got out of law school, I started working right away, and became successful at what I do, and became successful because of many of the things that I learned, as an athlete, really when I went to school in PSJA, and then also just based on my determination. I believe that those characteristics, make me a better candidate. Another thing that I think is very important is that when I look at 32,000 students in PSJA, I look at everyone as a whole. I don't look at just my own interests. I don't look at just my son. In fact, I venture to say that part of the reason why I serve on the board is really to look out for those children that don't have anybody to look out for them, or those children that at times their parents may not be able to provide for them or may not be able to guide them in the way that perhaps others can, because I believe that our educational system should be there to step up for those students, and that is something that I hold very dear to my heart when I make decisions on the school board. Is that I think of those kids. I think of those kids because perhaps some of us were in their shoes at one point. And so I always tell people, and in board meetings, I always talk about how, there's no children in our community in PSJ that can learn and that can be successful. And so by being a motivator, by setting an example based on my own personal story, I hope that I can give that sense of hope for our students. Mr. Vella talked about the institutes. That was a project that we got started together, the pre-law institutes, and some of you guys have seen the videos and have seen the work. In any given day, we could have 15, 20 lawyers come to our high schools, to be there for our students and to provide a sense of guidance and a sense of encouragement. Mind you, all of that is done obviously at no pay. Nobody gets compensation for that. However, the benefit that comes with that is the students. Being very involved, being very engaged is something that I just like to do. And I think that also makes me a great candidate. Another thing that I've been really involved in is the area of scholarships. And for those that may not be familiar with that, we've been doing scholarships here in this area for a long time. I personally, when I got involved, back in 2013 with the PSJA Education Foundation, every year, along with my colleagues, we've been able to raise money for students in our community. I myself have set up a few scholarships to be able to help our students. That is something that we can do at any given time without having to serve on a board, without having to be on the spotlight, because those are things that we can always do to help out our community. And lastly, the reason I'm a better candidate is because I'm a leader. And as a leader, you're going to be there trying to make the right decisions all the time. You're not going to be there waiting for somebody to tell you what to do or what to say or how to say it. You're going to be there, just working hard to try to make the best decisions that you can for the benefit of the group. Those things make me a much better candidate than my opponent. And for that reason, I would love to have the opportunity to serve the board for another 4 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Zambrano. And then lastly, it'll be the same question. Why are you running for school board, and what makes you a better candidate for the position than your opponent? And that will be for Jorge Sombrano.
Thank you, Zach. Once again, the experience that I have serving over the past 4 years makes me the best qualified candidate. I believe that I've served the community for more than the 4 years that I've served as a board member. I've served in nonprofit organizations, and throughout the years, we've been involved in the community and giving back, because that's what matters, right? Giving back not only during election. Don't get involved only during election, but do it because you really mean it. And I created a foundation for over 4 years. We've been involved giving away, backpacks to students with special needs. We have turkey drives that we've given out to the community, as particularly to those families that have less resources, and just a way of giving back. I believe that my experience in business, in finance, and real estate are what makes me a better candidate for this position. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zambrano. Now we're going to go into a stage of questions where there'll be individual questions for each candidate. And Sonia will be reading each of you is going to get 2 of those questions, and Sonia will be reading the first set of those to you.
Good evening, Mr. Jorge Sombrano. The first question is for you. What do you consider your biggest accomplishment on the school board so far? What is something that you have not yet accomplished but wish for? And how will you accomplish this?
Thank you, Sonia. I believe that over the past 4 years, I have been instrumental in many great initiatives that PSJA has undertaken. One of them is, we established or created TAs or positions for TAs and paraprofessionals for all pre-kinder and kinder classes. So meaning every pre-kinder and kinder teacher has a TA or paraprofessional side by side to help them on their day-to-day needs. Okay, that's something that we didn't have before. Okay, another thing was having security guards present in all of our elementaries. Typically what we would do is every middle school, every high school would have security presence at their campus, with the exception of elementary schools, which I believe it's very important, because at an elementary facility or elementary campus, that's where we have kids that are younger, kids that might not know, and that might venture to go outside and go out roaming around the campus without adult supervision. So we were able to establish security guards at all of our elementary campuses in our 3 different municipalities. However, one of my biggest accomplishments that I have been part of was establishing the district's police departments. I started this conversation early on in 2016 when I first got elected. However, the direction of the board back then was not so inclined to moving forward in establishing the police department. In fact, some of the board members, were against it because they seemed that, it was going to impact our budget. However, I persisted and continued the conversations with the superintendent, and with the direction of the board president at the time, we were able to plant the seed. And now we have a full-blown police department. We have over 18 police officers to ensure that our students, that our teachers, that our staff are safe while at our campuses. And I think that's been a a great accomplishment that I've been part of. I know that the community deserves it. I know that the students and all of our staff need to feel safe, secure while they're receiving the best quality of education. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, Zonia, the question number 1 for Jesse.
Okay, Jesse Sombrano.
Yes.
In August of 2019,
Sorry, I can't hear you. Sonia.
Zonia, you're on mute. Zonia, you're on mute. Zonia, you're on mute.
okay, I'm sorry. Good evening, Mr. Jesse Sombrano. In August 2019, you helped lead the vote against Itza Flores, one of the RGV's foremost specialists in special education, and who the hiring committee felt was the only qualified candidate to meet the needs of the district's special education students. What was your rationale for voting against the unanimous recommendations of the hiring committee? Do you feel this was in the best interest of the community in general and the PSJA ISD special education student population in particular?
Yes, thank you, Sonia, for the question. Being that it's a personal matter, I mean, I'm going to reserve commentary on this particular question. All I got to say is that I'm one vote on the board, and and that was a decision that was made at the time. I believe that it was the right decision. I believe that Debbie Salinas, who was taking that position before, was doing an excellent job. I believe that PSJA has been known for special education throughout our area. We have students coming from McAllen and Edinburgh and the surrounding cities just to bring their students here that have special education needs. We support the special education department, and we supported the good work that Ms. Salinas was doing before. And so that was the basis for my particular decision. I am one vote, and at the end of the day, that's something that didn't go through, and we just move on. We continue to move on. We will always support special education. We will always support the programs that are surrounding special education, and we will continue to be a leader in special education in the Valley and really throughout the state. We've had the Commissioner of Education come down here to recognize our school district for special education programs. And so I believe that the direction that we have in special education today is the right one. There's never enough that we can do for our students in general. And so, I'm proud of the work that our current administrators and staff are doing with regards to special education, and I will continue to always support what's in the best interest of our special education department. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Zonia, you're on mute again.
Sorry. Mr. Jesse Vella, the question for you, sir. Why did you decide to leave place 7 after having served in that place for several terms and run for place 6 instead? What were all the factors that led you to make this decision?
Okay. Thank you, Sonia. There were several factors. One was my opponent had practically gone unopposed the prior election. And in the election of 2012, he had an opponent who wasn't even from Alamo. The gentleman was from FAR. So technically he was as far as I'm concerned, unopposed as well, because he was not from Alamo. And then in 2016, he ran unopposed till the last minute, unopposed till up until the very end. Then I had an opponent at the very end. So I could not see myself, him running unopposed. And that was the rationale for me, because I feel I'm a much better qualified school board member as a full participant and engaged in school boarding. So that's the main reason I'm running for place 7, because I'm a much better candidate than my opponent, based on what I'm doing, what I've done, what I continue to do as a full-time school board member. And that's what I do. And that was the rationale behind it. I could not see my opponent going unopposed again. And basically, he had a free ride the prior 2 elections. So I hope that answers your question. That was the motivation. I'm a better candidate, much better qualified, much more engaged, much better informed, doing things that I think benefit the district and the students and the teachers in our district. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Gutierrez, the next question is for you. You have spent a large part of your career in the field of public health. Currently, you work in the Hidalgo County Health and Human Services Department Epidemiology Office. In what ways can you use your experience working in the field of public health as a board member to benefit the district students and employees?
Hi, Sonia. Well, first I want to say that in the past few weeks, as you know, I've worked together with the AFT, and I've always supported the AFT on in any initiative that where I am asked to provide support and information. In the past, and I am trying to build background on why I'm going to where I'm going. In the past, I have worked with AFT on the Bill 1882, Senate Bill 1882, which was trying to bring upon Power Ed. And this time, in the past few weeks, I worked with AFT as well on public health, with providing recommendations on a safe opening of the schools. If I was on the school board, my knowledge and the experience that I have acquired with COVID and all the other 80-some illnesses that are by law infectious illnesses that should be reported to the health departments, the local health departments, would be that I can help, aside from the pandemic, I can help provide the recommendations, the guidelines, and isolation precautions, safety measures to bring students to school or to send them home if needed. I have worked with the nurses of every school. I have worked with head nurse of the district, and currently the guidelines are very specific, but they change on an everyday basis. The CDC provides us guidelines daily. And so because of that, I can give the district information that it's accurate, based on data, based on the science, and that it can help us move forward. In addition, in relation to COVID, it's very important that we take into consideration the situation surrounding us at the time that the decisions need to be made. So, for example, we have to consider whether there is the number of cases that the school or that the district has and the county has, as well as the state. We also have to consider the bed capacity, how many of those beds are used for COVID, how many are being used for ICU, and a lot of other issues that we have to consider. So my experience can be a great asset, because I can help make decisions that will help our students and our staff be safe and decide whether they can stay home, they can come back, or we can have a hybrid of both.
Thank you.
And so now we'll go back to Mr. Jorge Zambrano for your individual question. Should you defeat Ms. Garza, your opponent, and should Ms. Gutierrez lose to Mr. Salinas, that would mean the board would once again be all male. What would you do to ensure that the voices and concerns of women are heard, represented, and taken into account when decisions and policies are made?
Thank you, Zach. Every time I, as a board member, cast a vote, I take the entire population into perspective and not just a selected few. Here in PSJ, we have a high number of female employees all across, from administration, central office, the maintenance department, and I thank them for their service. I believe that is the only and the best way to make a good, solid decision. And that includes to ensure that all of the voices and concerns of everybody, including women, students, teachers, and staff, and all community members are heard. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Mr. Zambrano. Now we'll go to Jesse Zambrano. The vote to bring Dr. Jorge Arredondo on as superintendent was a 4-3 vote. What was your rationale for voting in favor of bringing Dr. Arredondo on as superintendent? What did you see in him that those who voted against him perhaps did not see?
Yes, thank you, Zach. First of all, I do want to say that I was the board president during the transition period between Dr. King and Dr. Arredondo. That is a responsibility that I took very seriously because obviously Dr. King had been here for 12 years and he had done a great job. And we knew that we had big shoes to fill in the next superintendent. And so the moment Dr. King informed us that he was retiring, I started working with Dr. King to ensure that the process of bringing in a new superintendent was a transparent process. It was a professional process, that there were not going to be any backdoor deals, that they were not going to be any, bringing in my friend or, anybody that wasn't, the most qualified person for the position. So what we did with the help of our legal counsel, Kevin Hanlon and Ben Castillo, we retained a firm out of Austin, Texas, that included a gentleman by the name of Jess Butler and also a former commissioner of education, Felipe Alanis. And some of you know Dr. Alanis. He is a PSJA graduate and really one of the most successful educators that PSJA has ever produced. And so I felt that there was a connection. And prior to that, by the way, I did not know Mr. Alanis personally. I just had heard of all the great things. And so we pretty much let him lead us in the recruiting process of selecting the superintendent. And so what he did along with Jess Butler is that they brought us about 18 applicants for the position. And one of those applicants was Dr. Arredondo. We went through a series of interviews, very high-level interviews, very detailed process. And quite frankly, I'm very proud of the entire board for following that process pretty much to the T. And so Dr. Arredondo ended up being the last person standing, the lone finalist. And the board took it up for a vote. And we voted, and he became the superintendent. Something that I think is really important is that in the candidate pool that we had, there were some great candidates that came through. And at the end of the day, we had to choose one superintendent, and we did. And the reason that I believe that Dr. Arredondo was the best person for the job, and once again, considering that I am one vote, and I believe that because of his upbringing, because of his hard work and determination, being basically starting his educational career and his professional career as a tutor for Houston ISD being the largest school district in the state of Texas and moving up the ranks in that school district. There was a connection that was there. We talked to him about the issues that we saw in PSJA as a board. In talking to Dr. King, we also followed Dr. King's advice, and really that was the motivating factor. I think at the end, the entire board saw the qualities in Dr. Arredondo, and unfortunately, some people have made this political. Some people have made this political. We can't control what these individuals are doing or why they're doing it. I think that this hurts education overall. We are very proud of all our high-level administrators in PSJA. We're very proud of them. We support them 100%. Our board, this board, was responsible for restructuring some of our administrative, team, and even to the point where this board has approved promotions. We have really within the organization given a lot of opportunities to a lot of principals, a lot of different directors, executive officers that have been promoted, and people that are from the PSJA area that we believe are great educational leaders. And so the combination of an individual like Dr. Redondo with the great talent that we have here locally, we believe that it created a great team. Dr. Redondo has been here a year. COVID hit in March, and it's been a challenging year, and yet nevertheless, we continue to move education forward, and we continue to move PSJ forward. I'm very proud of the vote that we took. Obviously, we continue to work with Dr. Redondo, and we continue to really look for ways of improving all the time. We all have room for improvement, and he's not an exception. And so we are here to work with him, work along with him. But I believe that it's very detrimental to our educational system to bring each other down. I think that as a leader, it's incumbent upon us to, the board made a decision, and we have moved on from that decision. And I'm very proud of the work that is being done, and we'll continue to work with the superintendent. The last thing is that really important is that in the last year, we basically reinvented the mission and vision for PSJA. I think Dr. Redondo has been very visible in the community, something that I believe makes him different from the previous superintendent is that he is in a way more connected to the community, and he's working on that. I think those are qualities that I see that are very important, and I think the most that we continue to work with him, I think the better we're going to do for our educational system. Obviously, always including the team. We don't want to have a top-down approach. We want to have a team approach. And so everybody in the administration is important. Everybody plays a critical role. We talk about that in our meetings. We talk about how everybody can make a difference. It does not matter if you're the superintendent or, if you work in grounds in the district, or you're a kitchen worker in the district. What matters is that we're all there for education. And I believe that Dr. Redondo is there for education, and he cares about our community to continue to move it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jesse Vella, here's another question for you. The overwhelming majority of PSJA employees in the community was against Empower Ed. Why should PSJA employees and the community at large vote for you when you did not take a decisive stance against Dr. Daniel P. King's Empower Ed charterization proposal? Should the current superintendent or any future superintendent try to use SB 1882 or DOI District of Innovation in PSJA, how would you vote and why?
Okay. Thank you, Zach. Part of the reason I did not made a decisive decision on Empower Ed is twofold. One is it was a kind of a moving target, meaning we were getting updates. We were getting updates as a board practically 2 or 3 times a week in terms of the status of what direction we were going to go. What did it mean for the district? Was it good for the district? Was it not good for the district? At the center of this was the enticement of $26 million or so of infused funds if we made a decision to do that. But at what risk, or what do we have to give up? And my point is that I kept asking for more information or clarification or updates, etc. This is again, as a member of the board, asking for more information. I was not satisfied. I was not getting the answers that I was getting, that I wanted, or I wanted to hear, based on what direction we were going to go. Between TA and the district, it was always an update, or something has changed. Something is going to be this, something is going to be that. But at the end of everything, I made a recommendation to the superintendent. I said, look, I don't like the direction this is going. Survey the teachers and see what do they have to say about Empower It. So the survey was conducted, and overwhelmingly the teacher said no. Almost 70% of the respondents said no. 5 or 6 campuses did say, they had a majority, that they would consider going into Empower It. But at that point, by that point, I was not in favor of it, because I didn't feel good about it from the very beginning. But I was willing to listen to the superintendent. The superintendent was in conversations with the State Commission of Education on a practically daily basis. But things kept changing. The conditions, the circumstances, what about this? What about that? I didn't like it. I didn't like it initially, but again, those are conversations we have in school board meetings, in conferences with sport and the superintendent. Answer your question, that's the reason I did not make a decisive decision, I guess, openly before, because I was willing to wait and find out exactly, I thought, what do teachers have to say in general? So, and they spoke loud and clear. So we said no. Even though 6 campuses said we're willing to try it, we said no. So we said we're not going to take any action. So the next question you're asking is, if the superintendent would be asked to consider something similar today, the answer is no. I would not consider it. It's too much to give up, too much uncertainty. It's just not right. It wouldn't be good for the district. So my answer would be no. And a year or so ago, we were able to influence people. We passed House Bill 3, which infused considerable money to the district and all the districts across the state of Texas. See, Empower It, a lot of it had to do with you get this for this. In other words, you give up something for X amount of dollars. And that to me was not right. So that's my response, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vella. And lastly, our last individual question is for Ms. Gutierrez. Should you win, how will you ensure that the voices of the people of Alamo are equally and equitably represented?
By making sure that I study whatever decision we're trying to pass, by making sure that any decisions that I make are going to benefit, first of all 3 cities, but especially the city of Alamo. I believe that historically the city of Alamo has been left behind, and I think it's time that they get representation as that they need and that they should have been getting all this time. So it's important for me to, first of all, study anything that's involved in making this decision, whatever topic we're talking about. And I will not be making those decisions based on personal gain or based on any political vendettas or political inclinations. I would want to have as much information and as much clarification so that at the time of making the decision, I can ensure that first, like I said, all 3 cities are represented, but that the city of Alamo gets the representation they desperately need. In addition, I want to make sure that I hear what they have to say. I want to make sure that the students, the staff, administrators, support staff, that I listen to what they have to say before making any decisions, and that way I can ensure that they're represented. I think it's also important to consider, first of all, the needs of the city. Secondly, the needs of the people, and but the impact of the decision, the impact that it will have on that community, and so that everyone is heard, so that when making decisions, we ensure that every single individual is represented and gets a fair share of whatever we're trying to accomplish.
Thank you, Ms. Gutierrez. Now we're going to move into a stage of questions that are for your entire slate. And Sonia shall be reading the first two of those slate questions.
Good evening. Our question to you is, what are the strengths you think your slate has? I'm sorry. What are the strengths you think your slate has over the other slate?
Okay. Thank you, Sonia. I'm going to respond to that, Sonia. Three of us on our slate have a combined 16 years of experience on the school board. 16 years of experience. So obviously we have a lot of institutional information, a lot of institutional knowledge. We know what's going on in the public schools. We know in detail all the departments throughout the district. We know and understand what's going on. We are better prepared to respond to issues or concerns. We have that experience behind us. We're engaged and we're involved always. Again, we created those subcommittees that I think are vital and very important. And we are usually at all of those meetings, meeting our slate, our three members of our slate that are there right now. That to me is significant. That's very important because we get additional information. We always stay informed, and I think that's very, very important. All of us bring very unique skills to the school board. You probably heard the diversity of everybody that's on the board. Of course, I'm an educator, so you know about that. And I've done this I did it for almost 40 years. And is it as if I've never left education now for an additional 8 years being on the school board, staying very connected, very engaged, and understanding what's going on in the district so we can make better, stronger decisions that are going to be positive for everybody concerned. So as a slate, obviously, that to me is one of the most significant areas: informed, experienced, focused, always having a vision for the future, always having a purpose, establishing very specific goals and attainable goals, what we call SMART goals, our involvement in our commitment to doing what we called Lone Star governance, which we started a few years ago. We engage with Holsworth, leadership capacity building, and all of the great training that our staff have received have been as a result of our engagement with Holsworth. And we were on the board when we engaged in Holsworth, and they provided a tremendous service. They guided us through the vision and mission statement and helped us with a lot of other processes that are significant. We created the spirit of PSJA and other things that I think are good, building a tremendous culture for the district, and also adding training so that we can build capacity for all our staff that want to go in a career path into good leadership positions, leadership opportunities throughout the district. And that's something we wanted to do, to give them opportunities to move up the ranks, if you will, from teachers all the way up. So obviously, I think that's as a slate, those are just a few of the things that we've done, not to mention all the issue related to finance and budgets, all the facilities that we have been able to build and reconstruct, from athletic areas to academic areas, swimming pools, and a lot of other things that I think are very, very significant, very important, and fully supportive of all the programs throughout this district, across the board, all of them. So Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, and then Sonia, the second question too.
The second question for the slate. Your slate states that you are all about community and not about politics. Yet Mr. Vella is switching places after having served in place 7 for several terms. And Ms. Gutierrez is running in a place that for decades has been reserved for Alamo residents. This has resulted in some people having the impression that there might be a dissonance between your messaging of community and the appearance of calculated political maneuvering. How would you respond to that? How will you ensure voters that your slate will always act in the common good and in the best interest of the entire community?
Thank you, Sonia. Well, first of all, it's not an Alamo seat, as we have seen. It's a local policy that is not a law, and so the first thing is that I am running for that seat because voters can choose or elect officials from any of the 3 cities, and so the way that I would ensure that my team always votes in the best interest of our students would be collaborating together, communicating, cooperating, and we all get along very well. We're a great team. We're very strong. We have similar views and backgrounds. At the same time, we're very diverse, and I think all of those things can be of great help when negotiating. In addition, the track record that all 3 of my teammates have proven that they always have the best interest of our community at heart. And so I would ensure that that they continue to do so by doing my homework, by learning about the decisions that we're about to make, communicating with them, and thus ensuring that when we are about to take a vote, that we have considered all of the options, we have looked at all of the situations, we have listened, we have looked at the research, and we can then make decisions based on facts. I also want to say that we are all very community oriented, and so far we have kept or we have run a clean campaign because our views and our professionalism has helped us make decisions up to now that reflect the type of or that set the background for the type of a slate that we will be, or of team that we will be, if we all win, and that will help us make decisions that will impact all of our students in a positive way.
Thank you.
Thank you. So our next question is going to be divided in 2 parts. It's about slogans that your campaign has been using. The first question, the Sombrano brothers have used the slogan, taking PSJA to the next level. What would you elaborate on this, and what do you envision as the next level, and what are your plans to get there?
Yes, thank you, Zach. Taking PSJA to the next level was used in our last campaign, and we continue to stick to that because we believe that there's always room for improvement. In education, we cannot stay stagnant in the old habits of learning, and we must adapt to the ever-changing world. And over the past 4 years, we've accomplished many, many things that you didn't see before. You see, one main important one would be safety. We've established a police department, to ensure the safety of all of our students, teachers, and staff. We revamped the early childhood to ensure that all of our students get the best quality of education at an early age, so that they could be ready to go to middle school, so that they could be ready to go to high school, and of course continue their education, their higher education. We've created PSJ institutes which is something, a great experience for our students, particularly the juniors and the seniors, where they got to see firsthand life or real world experience from professionals in the legal field, in the engineering field, to name a few. And that's something that we didn't see before. You see, we've established the PSJA committees to where we engage and brought the professionals' perspective to the table, because they're the ones who are out there in the trenches day in and day out. Before, you wouldn't see that. So by establishing these committees, we were able to bring again the teachers, along with some of the board members and the superintendent and some of the central office staff, to see and to hear the ideas, the necessities that our employees needed. Okay, and lastly, politics. Removing politics from our educational system, because if we continue to focus on politics, the best interest of our students is not going to be there. And that's the reason why this campaign is so important, because we've been here, we got here to shake up that tree, and some people are not liking it. Some people are not used to it, because they were used to doing the same things at the benefit of our students' education. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Mr. Zambrano. The second part to the slogan question is, your campaign has used the slogan "Stronger Together." What do you mean by this? What are your plans to make the PSJA ISD family stronger than it is now?
Thank you, Zach. I'm going to take that second part of that question. I do want to remind everybody that 4 years ago, when my brother and I ran for the school board, we essentially ran against incumbents. And one of the things we said was that we wanted to improve our educational system. We came in and, we saw that there were some things that, could use some improvement. And we've been working really hard at that. Again, I think Mr. Vella already mentioned the committee work that we've been doing before. None of that was going on. Now I think every board member is informed, or should be informed at least, because we provide that venue, we provide that forum where we have committee work in all the key areas within our district. You did ask the question about Mr. Vella switching over. I think what the community needs to know is that for the past 2 elections, Mr. Vella's opponent has found candidates to run against Mr. Vella. Both times, 4 years ago, he found an opponent at the last minute, and Mr. Vella then had an opponent. And then this year, Mr. Vella was up for re-election for his seat. And here comes another individual, that decided to challenge Mr. Vella. And so, when we talk about that we're for community, not for politics, that's what we're talking about. But at the same time, I mean, we have to, we also have to, defend and protect the decisions that we are making. And so we believe that by doing that, in this slate that we form, we want to be there for all. This is not about one city, 2 cities, one individual, one political group. This is about the entire PSJA family. The reason why the basis of electing at-large districts is there is because it does not matter where in the district you are, as a student or as a board member or as an employee. Because we are going to look out for the best interests of everybody in the community. That's the reason why we elect board members at large. That's why in this election, everybody's going to have an opportunity to vote for the candidates of their choice. Something else that I think is really important that the community should know is that, PSJA actually has a small portion of the city of McAllen within our district. PSJA has a portion of the district that has unincorporated areas, which is basically county property and not city property. And so, we want to bring everybody together. What do we mean by PSJA Stronger Together? We've heard a lot through this COVID situation how we are trying to bring really the entire country together. So you hear the slogan, we're in this together, stronger together, because we want to be there. We want to be there for the community, and we want to be there as a group. Bringing in a new superintendent, and continuing to improve in our administrative team. All of that is really important, and is a testament that we should be stronger together, that we should work together as a team to to ensure that education is advanced in PSJA. I will say this, there's a lot of things that we can do different. There's a lot of things that we can improve, but over the past 4 years we have been working on that. We talked about taking PSJA to the next level. I think we are at the next level, and now we need to keep it going. We need to keep it going, in what's in the best interest of the entire district. And we're here to work with all stakeholders, involved, to be able to create the best school district that we can create. It's very easy for somebody from the outside, to throw a political ad, to raise issues that are not either true or even pertinent to the situation. But when you haven't been involved in our school district for so long, when your own children don't go to our schools, when your own individuals that you may be talking to, know nothing about what's going on in our schools. So how can you give an opinion on something that you don't know about? And so when we say stronger together, is look, come to the table, come to the table, go to our meetings, get informed, get involved. And this team, I believe, is the team that can do that. I believe that we're going to look out for everybody in PSJA, not just a few selected groups. We want to be there for all. And that's the campaign that we're trying to promote. And with your support and your help, we believe that we're going to be able to do that and continue to move PSJA forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sombrano. And then Sonia will be reading the fourth question in our slate category.
Yes, our question to your slate. Should only part of your slate win, do you think you could work and govern effectively with members of the other slate?
Yes, Sonia, and I'll take up that question as well. Yes, absolutely. I think that even right now as a board, I think that the 7 board members, we work together as much as possible. I know that sometimes we have disagreements, and we move from those, but absolutely, we are there if elected. I think that we're going to be there elected at the will of the voters. The good thing about this election is that voters actually have a choice. They have a choice between 2 candidates in every seat, and we have to follow our democratic way of governance, and that is through elections. And so we will be ready to take the will of the voters anytime. The voters are the ones that elect us, and the voters are the ones that take us out if they don't want us there. And so once that happens, I am ready. We are ready. Our team is ready to move forward and continue to work with anybody that is interested in being a stakeholder in the school district to be able to move the school district forward. That is the basis of our democracy, and I believe that that's the way that it should be. And so, absolutely, yes, we are ready to work with anybody come after the election. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then our last and final slate question. Should your slate win, would you be in favor of having elected consultation or something similar to it, meaning that a teacher organization like PSJA-AFT would be able to have a seat at the table to negotiate and discuss and bargain employees' contracts, wages, and benefits?
Yes. And I talked to a few individuals earlier about this particular question. And, elected representation is not something that we have right now here in the Valley, but I understand that some of the bigger school districts in the state do have that. We are ready to work with any of the teacher groups that are interested in working with us. We already talked about Empower Ed. when it was time for us to step up to the plate to protect the interests of the teachers, we did that, and we all enjoyed working together in that. At the same time, there are things that as board members sometimes we are limited from being able to get involved. We don't want to overstep our boundaries. We do have a superintendent that is the educational leader in the district, and with his staff, most of the issues that are necessary should be resolved. At the same time, right now, an alternative would be that we do have a committee process where we would welcome any interested group. I know that I've seen some of you guys, Zach, and Sonia, in some of our meetings, and we really like that, to see you guys there, because you guys are there present at the meetings and you guys know what's going on. And so we will always take our teachers and our different member groups into consideration, because we believe that obviously the decisions that we make are important to you and your opinion is important to us. So absolutely, we would be in agreement to doing something to that effect, whether it be elective type of situation, or through a committee work where we can hear your concerns and you all can give us your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sombrano. We're going to move on to more of a general set of questions now. But we're at 1 hour and 21 minutes already, and we've scheduled this for 2 hours. So for the sake of time, we've been letting you go up to 5 minutes. We're going to have to try to reduce that to about 2 minutes so we could have time, finish on time. And Sonia can read the next 2 questions on that sheet.
Okay. Our question to you would be, what are your views about the current superintendent's job performance?
Yes. I'm gonna speak to that, Sonia. Thank you very much. My views on the performance of the superintendent are positive. He was on schedule, meaning he was on schedule in March before the pandemic hit. He was on schedule meeting the metrics or the goals. Remember that when Dr. Arredondo came on board, he signed a contract. And as part of the contract, there's a performance clause, meaning that if you don't meet certain metrics, if you don't meet certain criteria, then obviously there's no pay raise. There's no consideration for a pay raise. So that's part of the contract. So in March, and we were looking at the data, we're looking at the information coming in. The district was on target to meet its targets, our goals, if you will, based on the work we did with Lone Star governance and setting SMART goals. So my view is that he was doing a good job. He was performing, and of course the staff was performing, meaning he's accountable to everybody else. So the staff, everybody, the data we were getting was very positive, was good, meaning that my views were that he was doing the job that he was supposed to be doing. So I was very pleased with that. The other is quantitative, obviously, and then qualitative. On the qualitative side, he embraced the initiative that we had ongoing, which was Holsworth, and he used the resources very effectively, meaning that he brought in skilled people to help carry the torch again to complete the work of Holsworth, which we're still in the process of completing, but it guided us through something he wanted to do and wanted to accomplish, and that is to rewrite the vision and the mission statement. And he coordinated with Holsworth to have several town hall meetings or meetings at different campuses throughout the district. That was like a 3 to 4 month task. So he was on target with that, and he embraced that. And then, of course, with Holsworth, and then with Lone Star Governance, we went through the process again, reviewed, did a refresher course, if you will, and then we said, look, these are our targets, these are our metrics, these are the goals we have, and charged his staff to accomplish those goals and those objectives. So my view is very positive. The other is he's really embraced all the programming throughout the district, which includes CATE, CTE, dual language, bilingual, etc., the federal programs departments, and all the other departments in our district throughout the course of his tenure so far. He has been very supportive of those departments, getting data, analyzing certain particular data, particularly in the area of human resources, getting information, more quantifiable information, stuff that we needed, that we requested, information that we requested, which I think is very vital to making decisions, very, very effective decisions about staffing and other things. So my views, again, are positive on the quantitative side as well as the qualitative side, because they're both very important. And he met the metrics, and he was meeting the metrics when the pandemic hit. And then everything, obviously, we went virtual. So again, we're starting a new year. So again, it's still performance-based on his contract. So we're monitoring it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question for the slate would be, would you be willing to meet regularly with PSJA AFT leaders and members to discuss issues and how the implementation of district initiatives play out in the field?
Hi, Sonia. I'm going to go ahead and answer to that. I think that over the past 4 years, our school board has been open-minded, has been transparent, and we've had an open door policy to hear out the concerns of our community, to hear out the concerns of our staff. And I'm in favor of meeting, or at least allocating a day in our calendar to meet, such as what we're doing with the PSJA committees. You know, if that's something that AFT is interested, by all means, is something that we could consider in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question, one of the greatest concerns of PSJA AFT members, 76% of those surveyed, are issues related to COVID-19 and the safe reopening of schools. What conditions must be met, in your opinion, for a safe reopening of schools before both teachers and students would be able to return for face-to-face instruction? Would you bow to state, local, internal, or public pressure to reopen schools, or would you keep them closed till it was truly safe to return based on objective, scientific, and health standards?
Thank you, Zach. Well, first of all, it would not be based on my opinion. The decision would be made based on science, on sound data, and as I mentioned before, the situation in our area. And so some of the criteria that has to be met is we have to lower the number of new cases in a 14-day period. We have to look at the number of deaths in a 14-day period. As I mentioned before, the capacity of the hospitals and whether that capacity is less than 80%, and the number of beds that are used for ICU and for COVID. In addition, the capacity of the school district to implement all of the guidelines that are set forth by the CDC, such as wearing a mask 100% of the time properly, washing hands, wearing a mask, observing social distancing and all that. We also have to consider what TEA has to say, what the Secretary of Education, the State Secretary of Education, the State Secretary of Health, and the governor. So if all of these criteria are met, I would be willing to open the schools, but also we have to be very, very mindful that people's minds right now are focused on their safety and the safety of their families. We saw that during July and August, we had extremely high numbers of cases. So we don't want to go back to that. And so I would support the majority's decision of staying home, for teachers and for students, for the parents. But I think here we need to listen to everyone. We I'm willing to support both sides, those that are willing to go back to school and those that are willing, that want to stay home and work from there. Um, Given that some are returning already, we also have to look at how that goes for the next 2 weeks. If in the next 2 weeks we start seeing a sudden increase in numbers, then we would have to make recommendations or make a decision to scale back and possibly send everyone home. Now, as far as bowing or falling prey to pressure, the pressure of the public or the media, we must understand that this is not a decision that one individual makes. We must understand that this decision is made based on, like I mentioned, a lot of small parts, and so we have to look at the big picture. We also have to consider the state, the numbers in the state, and how our country is doing. But I would not. I would stand my ground and make the recommendations even in the face of pressure. We have young individuals who, especially teenagers, who want to go back to school, and the argument is made that there is a big impact, a mental impact on them, and psychological, because they're not, having that social contact with their friends, their peers, the schools, sports, and all that. But we have to be very careful with the decisions we make. When I make recommendations or when I get involved in any team to make this type of recommendations, I'm very careful on getting all the facts and like I said, get the data, the correct data, so that we do not make mistakes and we have everyone's safety in mind. So I think at this point we are heading in the right direction. I think the numbers are reflecting a good response from the public. I feel that we do not need to be micromanaged, that we on our own can make good decisions, such as stay home as much as possible until at least there's a vaccine and there's a specific treatment for this illness. Wear our masks as much as possible. And if we develop symptoms, the most important thing is not to get tested right away, but to go home, isolate from others, and then get testing. So I think it's to our benefit to be careful and to take the right steps in the right direction, considering all of the facts and not being pressured into opening or staying closed. Either way, until we see how the numbers are going to behave in the next few weeks.
Thank you. And now Sonia will ask our next question.
Good evening. This question to all the candidates. Despite the board passing a workplace bullying policy in September of 2019, 50% of PSJA AFT members surveyed still say workplace bullying is a major issue. What would you do to further address this issue and ensure that PSJ ISD is not a toxic working environment for its employees?
I'll respond to that, Sonia. First of all, I want to say that I cannot phantom workplace harassment, bullying. It's something I do not tolerate it. I don't accept it. It's unfortunate that it's still going on, despite the fact that there is a policy. And I know people still engage in those kinds of behaviors, which is regrettable. So what I would recommend is that if the policy is not strong enough, that we review it and make it even stronger as a policy. That's one. The other is, if we're not doing enough training of individuals, and I'm making the assumption that this is adult to adult. If it's a teacher to teacher, or teacher to someone else, a supervisor, etc., if it's a supervisor to a worker, a colleague, that they get better training, more frequent training, and make the policy stronger with stronger consequences. I do not feel well when I hear that someone is being harassed or bullied, because that is a significant psychological impact on individuals. And no one should have to be working in a toxic environment. So those two recommendations for sure. And this is something that I can take right up to the superintendent and say, look, we need to consider this and review this because it is not acceptable. And I'm sure most of the board members, and not all of them, would be agreed that this is something that is very important because it involves people, human beings, and no one should be meant to feel that way in a workplace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vella. So our next question, 47% of PSJA AFT members surveyed said that they were not given the required planning and prep time and that their administration held an excessive amount of meetings. 59% of members surveyed said that they were required to do excessive paperwork by administrators. These three issues are interrelated and prevent a teacher from developing effective and engaging lessons for their students. What would you do to address excessive meetings, excessive paperwork, and teachers not getting the required 450 minutes of planning time?
Yes, thank you, Zach. I'm going to take up that question. One of the things that I would propose going forward is that we perhaps create some type of a committee, board committee, along with the superintendent and some administrators, where perhaps we bring the teacher representatives to the table and we talk about these things. You know, in terms of planning, we have to give the teachers the planning time that they need, especially right now under the circumstances. I think that this is the time where we need to let our teachers do what they do. You know, we have to have the confidence in them to be able to plan and get ready and deal with the different issues that are going on right now with virtual learning. And then even if, when we go back to schools, just give the teachers the empowerment that they want, that they need, to be able to do their job. One of the things that, 4 years ago when we ran was that our district was very top heavy. I think we've heard it. And I think that, we've been working on that. We've been working on that by our administrators being a lot more engaged with our teachers, and just being there to support. Now, with that being said, there is a benefit to having meetings and to having engagement, because a lot of the times, a lot of the decisions that are made, whether it be at the board level or at the administrative level, obviously has to be, those decisions have to be taken down to the schools and to the different departments. And so for that, I believe that it's important to have meetings. Personally, I like meetings in terms of leadership development. I think it's very important when we get together and talk about, the strengths and perhaps sometimes the weaknesses that we may have as employees. Motivational meetings are great. I know that I myself have been involved in a few where I get invited, and it's great to just see, some of the individuals in our district, just talk about what motivates them and what they strive for. And so, yes, give the teachers the time that they need, but balance it out with, only the meetings that are required or that are necessary for them to be able to do their job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sombrano. Our next question. Recently, PSJA students were served expired milk and juice, mushy cucumbers, moldy fruit, frozen foods, and raw pizza. This is unacceptable. What would you do to hold those in charge of the nutrition program and district operations accountable?
I'm gonna respond to that, Zach, as well. First of all, it is obviously unacceptable that the children or individuals received food this way. So my concern would be is this an isolated incident, or is it something that's happened over time, or has happened frequently? Those are things that I think I would need to look into, and then have this conversation with the superintendent to come together with the child nutrition director and individuals in that department to figure out what went wrong. How can you correct it? What do you need to correct it? Follow your procedure, follow your processes, etc., so that nothing like this happens again to any child or children that may have received this food. And again, just to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, but have the superintendent or someone designated in charge of that department at a higher level to meet with the food services child nutrition director and come together and figure out, okay, what went wrong? Is it isolated, or has it happened before? And then do an audit, or hold them accountable to provide you an audit with any incidences like this in their history to see if there's a pattern or something else is going on, to look at all factors. But I think doing an audit would be beneficial. Hold them accountable and come together on a more frequent basis so that this incident never happens again to any of our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vella. And the next question will be read by Sonia.
Yes, candidates. Many employees in the district do not file grievances because they are, one, scared to do so, believing that they will face retaliation from their supervisor, and or two, think that the process will go nowhere and the district will just side with the supervisor, feel utilizing the grievance process, and that the district central office administration does not always automatically side with the supervisors.
Yes, thank you, Sonia. I'll take up that question. This is something that also we have heard over time, particularly, again, 4 years ago when we ran. This is something that employees talked about. I can tell you that as a board member, I have seen in the last 4 years probably about 3 or 4 cases coming up to the board in terms of grievances. I think that the management of those in the past is different than what I believe the process is now. I believe that Dr. Redondo has taken some measures to be able to address some of the concerns. But at no time, anybody should feel afraid of being retaliated against. That's the kind of stuff that hurts our educational system. At the same time, people shouldn't abuse the grievance process. There is a process that needs to be followed, and it really becomes more of a culture change to be able to get to where we want to be within the grievance process. But like I mentioned, that is something that we know has been an issue in the past. I think that it's also something that the new superintendent is addressing. And so we're going to continue, I believe, to make that process better. But I think, as Mr. Vella said earlier, no employee should feel that their voice is not going to be heard. At the same time, like I said, no employee should be abusing that process. There is a process. We need to follow the process. We need to follow the law when it comes to that. And most importantly, everybody needs to feel like they are being heard. And absolutely not fear any type of retaliation of any kind. And so we will continue to address those issues, and hopefully that process gets better in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the next set of questions, Sonia and I will alternate between reading them, and we'll go to each candidate, and you'll give either a yes or no, and then we'll go back and let you or one of you elaborate per question. So the first question, would you support multi-year contracts for teachers, nurses, counselors, and librarians? And we'll start with Jorge Sombrano. So it would just be a yes or no.
Yes.
Jesse Zambrano.
Absolutely.
Mr. Vella. So, Mr.
Yes.
Vella, would you support? Okay, thank you. And then
Yes.
Cynthia.
Yes,
Thank
of
you.
course.
And then Zonia could read number 18.
The next question, would you support extending contracts to support staff, paraprofessionals and hourly employees so they can become full members of the PSJA family and will no longer be at-will employees? Mr. Jorge Sombrano?
Thank you, Sonia. If it's possible, yes, I would.
Mr. Jesse Sombrano?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, Zonia, you're on mute.
Mr. Jesse Vella?
Yes.
Thank you. And Miss Cynthia Gutierrez?
Of course.
Our next
Thank-
question. Oh, sorry. Our next question. Would you support adding an additional 5 local sick/personal days for employees due to the novel coronavirus pandemic?
Definitely, yes.
And then Mr. Jesse Zambrano.
Yes.
Mr. Vella.
Yes.
And Miss Gutierrez.
Yes, and can I elaborate
Or
or later?
after, I guess after we get the time, we'll elaborate. And Zonia, the next one.
Would you support paid maternity and paternity leave for PSJA employees?
I sure will, yes.
Mr. Jorge
Yes.
Sombrano?
Yes.
Mr. Jesse Sombrano?
Yes.
Mr. Vella? And Miss Gutierrez?
Of course I would.
Okay, our next question.
Thank you.
Would you support a living wage of at least $15 an hour for hourly employees?
Yes, I would.
Mr. Jesse Zambrano.
Well, I would say yes, over a period of time, absolutely. We've done that already the last couple of years. Our wage right now is $12 an hour, which is probably the best living wage in our area. And so yes, absolutely, over time.
Yes.
And Zonia, the last one.
Okay, would you support a McCrell-like evaluation of administrators that would be completed by the teachers, paraprofessionals, and support staff who work with the administrator on a daily basis? This McCrell-like evaluation would be a component of an administrator's overall evaluation. Mr. Jorge Sombrano?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Jesse Sombrano?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Jesse Vella?
Did you call my name, Sonia? Because you broke up a little bit. But my answer would be yes to that. There you go.
Yes,
My
Mr.
answer
Vella?
would be yes. And if we can elaborate a little bit later toward the end, I
Thank you.
appreciate it. I want to elaborate.
And I would too.
And Miss Gutierrez?
So we're
I would too.
Thank you. We're getting to like a 10-minute lap mark at 7:50. But if you wouldn't mind, because you wanted to elaborate, we would probably go a little over 8 o'clock if that would be okay with all of you.
That's fine with me, Zach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we'll go back to those questions and then we'll get you to elaborate. So 17, would you support multi-year contracts for teachers, nurses, and counselors and librarians? Did anyone want to elaborate?
I think that question was designated for Mr. Jesse Vella.
Okay. So Mr. Vella, would you support
Okay.
do you want to elaborate on the multi-year contracts for teachers, nurses, and librarians
would.
and counselors?
I know it's a yes or no. It's a yes or no.
Yes, so you
Question.
answered yes or no, and we're gonna let you elaborate. But I guess for time, we'll keep it to like
Right.
2 minutes.
Sure. What I would consider, obviously, is reviewing it and looking at that possibility. The other would be is taking it under consultation with the superintendent, human resources, and anything related to what human resources and TASB might recommend, because of there are implications regarding multi-year contracts built in for teachers and other individuals because of the nature of their work. So again, I will be in favor if it's something that could be programmatically and legally done, and with all the particulars that are involved with human resources, because these are different contracts. Teachers have a specific contract and others have specific contracts. I would need to look at the language in consultation with, again, those individuals that I just mentioned. But I would consider it. I would be favorable to it if it's possible.
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Vella. And then I guess Sonia will read the next question for elaboration. Question 18, Sonia. Would you support?
It was question. Yeah, it was question 18. Would you support extending contracts to support staff, paraprofessionals, hourly employees so that can become full members of PSJ family and will no longer be at-will employees?
Okay, I'll take this one up real quick, just because I think that there may be some legal implications here. Absolutely, and I think we all said yes, but obviously, this would have to be in consultation with our legal counsel, because being at will and or not being at will has legal consequences, and so we just need to make sure that whatever we do, it obviously meets the labor law requirements. But absolutely, if it means that particular individuals that are hourly individuals, meet certain requirements and it's within the confines of the law, then I would say that absolutely would support that.
Thank you, Mr. Sombrano. The next question, Ms. Gutierrez wanted to elaborate on. Would you support adding at least an additional 5 local sick personal days for all employees due to the novel coronavirus epidemic? Or pandemic, rather. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Zach. Well, what I wanted to elaborate on is, based on my experience, there's a lot of confusion about the days, the infectious period of a person that acquires COVID, and those individuals that come in contact with a positive case. So the infectious period is 10 days. The period of that somebody has to isolate if they come in contact with a positive case is of 14 days. And so I have worked with many different organizations, offices, and different types of employers. And at the end of the day, it's we're all learning. We want to make sure that PSJA staff and parents feel comfortable, and especially the staff, knowing that if they were to become ill, they will have enough days and they will be covered. And so I just wanted to make sure that we put it out there that, yes, we support adding days, but we have to also consider a lot of variables. Whether if a person is in contact with a positive case and needs to be out, but also if in the future becomes ill, him or herself. So that's why I support, adding more days to their medical leave.
Thank you, Ms. Gutierrez. And then Sonia will read the next question for elaboration. Number 20, Sonia.
Yes, sorry, it froze for a bit. Would you support paid maternity and paternity leave for PSJ employees?
I answer absolutely, and all of us agree that it's very important for parents to bond with their children when they're born. And so I absolutely support any initiative that promotes bonding of families. And I also I'm a big supporter of anything that is equal or that treats both mother and father fairly. So I would support, and our whole team would support adding maternity and paternity leave because of that, because of the bonding experience that all parents should have with their children.
Thank you, Ms. Gutierrez.
Our next question, would you support a living wage of at least $15 an hour for hourly employees? If you could briefly elaborate.
I'll go ahead and take that, Zach. Thank you. Most definitely, if the budget allows it, why not? You know, over the past 4 years, like my brother mentioned earlier, you know, we've increased salaries. I believe we're a little bit north of $12 an hour. In fact, this budget cycle, we went ahead and approved a 3% salary increase to our hourly employees after we had received a recommendation to only approve 2%. So most definitely, if the budget allows it, and if it's something feasible, we will do anything and everything possible to ensure that all of our hourly employees get the full benefits. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sombrano. And then Zoni will read the last would you support question for elaboration.
Okay, the question was, would you support a McCrell-like evaluation of administrators that would be completed by teachers, paraprofessionals, and support staff who work with the administrator on a daily basis? This McCrell-like evaluation would be a component of an administrator's overall evaluation.
Yes, I asked to elaborate on that, Sonia. The answer is yes, I support it. And my understanding is that as we speak, I think the district is either already engaged in that or is already going in that direction. They're using something called a balanced leadership evaluation that was developed specifically for administrators or those individuals that are not in teaching or the teaching instructional arena. That it was also developed by McCrell, specifically designed for administrators to get evaluation or feedback from teachers and other individuals that they supervise. So it's already in the works, if not already being implemented. So the other is that the district developed, as a result of Holsworth, also developed something called the Spirit of PSJA Evaluation for Administrators, which is an additional instrument that could be used to evaluate administrators by instructional staff and other individuals on the campus. So again, definitely yes, and it's already in the works, if not already being considered or implemented. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vella. And now we'll go to our final question. It is 8 o'clock, so we'll let this question, the way it's worded, I think it's a perfect question to end with and a perfect question to serve kind of as a closing statement. So Zonia will ask you all that question.
What do you consider to be your greatest strength or experience that makes you an ideal candidate for the school board?
Thank you,
Mr. Vella?
Sonia. Again, one of my greatest strengths, in my opinion, is I am a very focused individual. I study the issues. I stay informed. I am passionate about what I do. I take school boarding very seriously. I take what I do very seriously. It's an honor to serve as a school board member, but it's also a responsibility, and I don't take it lightly. So among my qualities, I've been involved in leadership and leadership activities for a long, long time. And that to me is a great asset to me, in my opinion. As I mentioned earlier, I've been engaged with a lot of organizations, several that I cannot mention all of them, but I'll mention one in particular. I was selected to serve on what they call the Region 1 TASB Leadership Advisory Council. I've been a member of that organization or that advisory council for the last 3 bienniums or the last 6 years. So part of our responsibility was to come up with priorities, legislative priorities, and present them to the State Department, to the State TASB Legislative Committee to discuss our priorities. And as a result of that work, I think we've gotten a lot of things accomplished over the course of the last 6 years, heading into House Bill 3, which I thought was very significant, was good for the districts all throughout the state of Texas. And some of those priorities were obviously that we need to get full funding. The districts deserve full funding. We have not been receiving full funding in the past. I have been engaged in this work, this legislative work, this council for the last 6 years. And I continue to do this because I think it benefits the district and everyone connected to the school district. And I'm proud of that. So for that, thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Ms. Gutierrez, the same question. What do you consider to be your greatest strength or experience that makes you an ideal candidate for the school board?
There are many strengths that I have. I'm very loyal. I'm a hard worker. I'm a team player. But I think my greatest strength comes from my ability to bring people together, my ability to help people come together and collaborate and motivate them to move forward, to become leaders themselves, and to improve their lives. And so when we talk about the greatest experience or what makes me a better candidate is the work I've done with my community, the involvement I've had with my community again, and the experience I have acquired through working as a teacher for PSJA, working for Parental Moment at McAllen ISD, and my medical background. I think it's a great combination in addition to the business background that I have with a master's in business administration. And so all those things combined make me a great leader, make me a great candidate, make me a great representation for all of the women in our district and all of the men as well. I think that if we really think about my candidacy, you can see that I am always supporting initiatives that benefit everyone, that are positive, that are honest and transparent, and that I am a big advocate for education, that I am a big advocate for equal rights, and that makes me a better candidate. I'm always involved, not only when I'm running a campaign. I love, like I said, bringing people together, but I also love talking to people. I genuinely enjoy meeting new people, going out and talking to our communities and learning from those conversations. It's something I'm very passionate about, and that I think gives me an edge over my opponent.
Thank you, Ms. Gutierrez. Mr. Jorge Sombrano, the same question.
Thank you, Sonia. You know, the fact that I have the right intentions to run makes me the best qualified candidate for this position. You know, nobody forced me. Nobody made me run. You know, I'm running because I believe in the power of education, and I believe that I committed myself 4 years ago to take PSJ to the next level, to be involved and to help out the community that has given me so much. I have my both feet well planted. I have the right intentions, and that's what makes me qualified for this position. I think that, you know, my experience on the board over the past 4 years has been great. I am humbled to be part of this school board, I am humbled to serve a community of 32,000 students and close to 5,000 employees. My charisma, my passiveness makes me the best candidate for this particular position. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jesse Sombrano, same question. What do you consider to be your greatest strength or experience that makes you an ideal candidate for the school board, sir?
Thank you, Sonia. I think that my greatest strength is that I care. I think that I care to make a difference in our community. I care about the power of education. I know what education has done for me in my life. I know what education has done for my family. And I know the impact that we are making now being involved in the educational system here in PSJA. And it makes me very proud. It makes me very humble to participate in the process, to participate in being involved, to educate the next generation of productive members of society here in PSJA. And so that is the number one factor that I believe makes me a better candidate. You know, you've heard throughout this process that some people say that they want to take PSJA back, and my question is, take it back from who, and take it back where? PSJA has been in existence for 100 years. PSJA is going to be there. It was there yesterday, it's going to be there today, and it's going to be here tomorrow, regardless of who sits in our positions. The district is what makes us. We don't make the district. PSJA is an educational institution for those individuals that are willing to care and that are willing to make the right decisions for education in our district. We don't want to go backwards. We want to go forward. We want to go forward. We want to continue. And I believe that the fact that we care about that this group cares about that is very important. The last thing is that we're here for all. We're here for every student. We're not here to represent one section of the community. We're here to represent everybody. If at any time anybody feels that we're not doing our job, then you need to let us know right away, because that is what education is all about. It's not about the privileged. It's not about only the ones that can understand something better than others or anything like that. Every child has an opportunity to be successful in life. Every child has an opportunity to make a difference in our community, regardless of what profession or what job they want to undertake in the future. And so, the fact that I care, the fact that I'm passionate about this, quite frankly, like I said, when I graduated from law school, I came right back to my community because I wanted to serve my community, because I wanted to be involved in my community. I'm a successful business owner. I mean, quite frankly, there's other things that I can occupy my time with, but this right now in this stage in my life is the most important thing that I'm doing, because I believe that we're making an impact, and I want to continue to do it for the next 4 years. I don't believe that these positions are for individuals to have them for lifetime. These are not lifetime appointments. These are positions where individuals come in to try to make a difference. The fact that I have a child in the educational system, I think, makes me relate to what's going on. And as I mentioned earlier, not only do I want to make a difference for him, but I want to make a difference for those children that don't have a voice. And so, once again, the fact that I care is what makes me the best candidate for this position, and I humbly ask for your vote and your support. And I'm ready to continue moving PSJA forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sombrano.
And then we've come to the end of our forum. Sonia is going to give some closing remarks.
On behalf of PSJA-AFT, we would like to thank all the candidates for participating in our school board election forum. PSJA-AFT will continue to be a force that unites all public school employees. We are here to build relationships within the community and stand against injustices through our collective efforts. Thank you to everyone that joined us online. And we strongly remind you that everyone needs to go out and vote on November 3rd, and early voting starts October 13th. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone, and thank you for having us.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night.
Bye-bye.